Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're joining us from. Um, it's a privilege, an absolute honor for us here in the Park Launch community to welcome His Excellency, the Ambassador of Pakistan to the United States, Dr. Saab, to this session. Um, just as a matter of brief introduction, Park Launch is an online community connecting the Pakistani diaspora back home with stakeholders in the broader entrepreneurial and investment ecosystems. And this happens to be our first year anniversary event. So, and as I said earlier, we're thrilled and simply uh, over the moon to have such a distinguished guest to honor the occasion and give us motivation, further strength, and energy to drive this journey that we have started to establish these links of collaboration and support, which keep us connected with the motherland. So our esteemed guest is requires no real introduction, a career diplomat with 3 decades of excellence and service across the globe. This isn't his first stint in the US. He's been the deputy chief of mission before during the Obama administration. He's been the ambassador for Pakistan to Japan. He's handled Pakistan's affairs for the ECO and the West Asia nations with whom we're building and forging further economic interests over the years. And on top, he is a PhD in economics from the Kyoto University in Japan. So truly, humbling and inspiring to have such a distinguished gentleman represent our country's interests in a key global superpower and advanced our national interests there. Welcome and thank you so much, Dr. Saab. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you very much, Ali. And the fact that you are celebrating the first anniversary of Park Launch makes, I think, this interaction even more rewarding for me personally, because frankly, until recently, I didn't know much about Park Launch, so I will definitely avail of this opportunity to get to know you and your colleagues at Park Launch better, and also to better understand how you are working and collaborating across countries and continents, and what is it that we can do to help and support you to build a stronger and economically more resilient Pakistan. Really, I think, and I'm also thankful to all my colleagues from the consulates across the United States, the consul generals who are also in attendance today. And this should actually only tell you of the importance that we attach to staying in touch with the members of our community, in particular those who are interested in contributing to Pakistan's economic growth and development. And I think it's really a timely conversation to have because I'm sure you are tracking developments in Pakistan closely, and for most of us, it is very clear that the new government clearly sees basically economic security as an extension of our hard security, and today, therefore, geoeconomic or geoeconomics is the buzzword that we are focusing on. And frankly, you can basically deal with security issues through only a limited range of actors and stakeholders. But when it comes to basically building your geo-economic potential, and to effectively explore opportunities. It's really got to be an across the board multi-stakeholder effort. You really need to shift, look at the way you work, the way you operate, the way you produce. So it involves the regulatory frameworks, it involves attitudinal changes, it involves better and effective cooperation and implementation. So it's really a shift in our outlook on practically everything. So that is no small, target to achieve, and that's where I believe individuals who have achieved excellence in their respective areas and spheres would come in as figures who can, inspire people and individuals who can mentor the generation that has the hunger and appetite for more learning. And at the same time, I think over here also in the United States, and I'm glad that you have engaged with us and with the embassy here, because looking at how things are shaping up here in Washington, D.C., and the manner in which the new administration is also looking at foreign policy as an extension of the domestic policy. And when President Biden says, or when Secretary Blinken talks about basically devising or developing a foreign policy that serves the interests of the middle class, when they are going around the world looking at identifying and protecting the supply chains and reconfiguring the supply chains, So this conversation, and I'm glad that this is transcontinental. It represents individuals who are based in, different capitals around the world. At least that's my understanding, but I certainly look forward to hearing more from you. In terms of exploring economic and technological opportunities, my God, I think the potential is enormous, even when, frankly, we are not doing enough, even when we have not had as much focus on trade, investment, and economic relationship. United States still is our largest export destination. United States still is the third largest remittance sender to Pakistan. United States is still one of the top 5 investors in Pakistan. And not to even start talking about the human and people-to-people linkages and bridges that we have between our two countries, where almost every important educational institution in Pakistan was either built directly by individuals from this country or was inspired by those who had actually gone back to Pakistan from here. Similarly, bureaucracy, the military, and the academia, the younger political elites in Pakistan all have very strong personal educational linkages with this country. So that's where I see a lot of untapped potential. And I can tell you that at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we are very, very mindful and cognizant of this enormous potential. And then one of the I would say, shortcomings so far have been that over there in Pakistan, the stakeholders are, of course, and obviously scattered across the system, For instance, when it comes to technological cooperation, we have the IT Ministry, then we have the Securities Exchange Commission, we have State Bank of Pakistan, we have Software Export Boards, we have the Higher Education Commission. And so similarly, the embassies were not directly connected with those stakeholders in Pakistan and was therefore unable to act as an effective bridge between the diaspora and the Pakistani system. So, and also not just in terms of being a bridge, but also in terms of informing of the opportunities in Pakistan to those who are interested in learning, and then also learning from those who have actually developed or have those skills that they can share with Pakistan in terms of effective capacity building. So that deficit or that gap is being corrected. I don't know how many of you were part of this virtual startup summit that we did, and we also started. Shoaib Sarwar is here, and we started with a tech summit almost 2 years ago. It was soon after I came to United States, and I personally believe, and I have always said, is that technology is the force multiplier, and technology is the low-hanging fruit. And we have a comparative advantage in this because individuals like yourself and all those who are associated with Park launch. And that's where I really think it's absolutely essential and critical. And I make it a point always to reach out to Pakistani overseas organizations, particularly Pakistani American organizations, be it the Open International, be it the American Pakistan Foundation, or be it APNA. In fact, I am in Orlando to attend the APNA spring meeting. And the idea really is to reach out to these individuals who, may have chosen to live in United States, who may have adopted United States as their home, but their heart still beats with Pakistan. And one of the things that I said last night at the APNA convention was that I am here to convey our gratitude and appreciation, because as a doctor, it was their duty to do whatever they could to help communities in dealing with the COVID pandemic. But they really went above and beyond the call of their duty in supporting the wider community, in supporting the vulnerable groups, but then also going back to Pakistan in trying to help us in building our capacity, in trying to help us in supplying some of those much needed supplies during the early days of the pandemic. So the long and short of it is that we have in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs created this science diplomacy initiative. And the idea behind that is to bring all stakeholders in Pakistan under the same roof and make them interact with individuals and groups working overseas, and then to engage embassies as the bridge between the two groups, And that what difference that makes really is that I have heard over the years here in United States, and I have spent a lifetime here, that, oh, really, Pakistani bureaucracy is nashinstan, guftan, barkhastan, you come, you talk, you just go away. There hardly ever is any follow-up or implementation. And frankly, this is not something without basis. There is. And for that reason, sometimes what happens, and that's a real structure, and I'm trying to engage with you in a very candid conversation, because I know that you are well-meaning, you want to bring about a change, and we are here to help and facilitate. And for that, I think it's very, very important to do things the right way, to tick all the boxes, because sometimes, people here approach the highest quarters in Pakistan, get the endorsements and approvals from there at the highest level. And when they go back, thinking that since they got the okay from the top, it means basically all doors will be open. But actually, when they go back, that's when babus like me sit in front of them and they start ticking boxes that, have you done this? Have you done this? Have you done this? And that's where the disappointment starts. So without really going into, very high sounding phraseology, I really think that this is the crux of the problem. So for that, it is very important for you to engage and start a conversation through the institutional representatives, be it the consulate in your area, or it is the embassy in the country where you reside, because we will be the so-called institutional custodians of that conversation. And whether I am ambassador or not, there will be someone who will be representing Pakistan in the United States of America. And then that's where the institutional continuity would make sure that there is proper implementation and follow-up. So I'd like to stop here because I would like to hear from you and your colleagues on what their expectations are. And then in the process, I'll also talk about the opportunities in Pakistan. Although I think we all know what the opportunities are. The challenge really is how to tap and explore those opportunities. And that's where I'm here as much to inform as I am here to learn. So I stop here and I look forward to a very engaging conversation. Thank you very much for having me here. I'm glad that this is your first anniversary, and I wish Park Launch to have many more in future, inshallah.
Thank you so much for those kind opening remarks, Ambassador Saab. As you alluded to, this need to be seen as more accessible and collaborative by the members of the diaspora. I can vouch for that from some personal experience while working with Park Launch and your team in the US over the last year or so, and picking the Pakistan Roshan digital accounts launch and execution as an example. I think the way your team and stakeholders from back home in Pakistan in the relevant teams came together to help address core questions that overseas Pakistanis had around this, and how they helped sort of iron out those initial teething issues or knowledge gaps, I think is testament to the fact that it's not just words. There's tangible action and support being provided by stakeholders from the Pakistani missions abroad to extend this collaboration and relationship between different constituencies to the next level. So if I may sort of take the conversation forward with this particular example of Roshan Digital Pakistan, where a lot of us sitting here abroad feel that we want to actively participate in the economic development and growth of our motherland. Are there other programs, initiatives, or let's say, sequels to the Roshan Digital Pakistan program, by virtue of which the diaspora can, basically put their money where their mouth or their heart is, i.e. back home in Pakistan?
Thank you very much. I think availability of financial platforms and availability of right financial instruments, frankly, has been a challenge. Since we have had some history, therefore, people generally, are or have been skeptical in terms of making financial transactions or investments through banks in Pakistan. And what has made all this even more complicated has been the FATF-related and money laundering related restrictions that all the banking systems have to comply with much greater scrutiny and monitoring than ever in the past. But despite that, I think this Roshan digital account has been a great experience so far. We have had teething problems. This is an ongoing conversation, I must say, and we remain engaged. In fact, the embassy has set up an ongoing coordination mechanism with the State Bank and the 8 banks that are part of that new system, to make sure that those who are facing, and frankly, there were issues, and there still are issues, I'm not saying, but the fact that, in just the short period that this initiative has been in place, the deposits are crossing $800 million. And in just March, we had over 212 million. So this is really a huge vote of confidence in Pakistani banking system. Similarly, another issue that we have consistently heard here is the non-availability of financial platforms like the likes of PayPal and others. And that again has been frankly a challenge because of a number of factors. Domestically, State Bank has already introduced this RAST initiative, which is Pakistan's first instant payment system that will enable end-to-end digital payments. Now, this is something which is frankly internally focused, but we are working with international players and also domestically looking at possibilities of creating these platforms, because these platforms will particularly help in creating tech-related cooperation opportunities, because already a number of transactions that are actually designated as remittances on our list are actually not remittances in the conventional or traditional way remittances are described, because they are not the wages that Pakistanis working overseas are sending back for the sustenance of their families, but they are actually the reward for the payments that are being made to those who are providing services in Pakistan. And facilitating this particular track will help us create those call center, more and more customer service facilities in Pakistan, and similarly e-commerce facilities as well. Pakistan Central Bank, I understand, is also planning to issue a central bank digital currency. And similarly, the bank has also given green light for a framework within which digital banks actually can begin to operate in Pakistan. Now, these are kind of initial phases of the thinking in Pakistan, but I think they clearly indicate the priority that we are attaching to financial transactions and the need to make them transparent and efficient. And that remains a high priority for us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for those insights. You alluded to, tech being a key driver of progress and growth. And I guess this session we are having today is testament to that fact that, me sitting in London, I'm able to facilitate this conversation between stakeholders in the US and across the world. Now, from an opportunity creation perspective back home in Pakistan, are among other resources and strengths that we have as a nation, human capital, a burgeoning and tech savvy youth are, I would say, our key strengths as a nation. So are there measures being taken by missions abroad to get technology companies from countries like the US, the UK, to sort of establish their development centers, their technical innovation centers in Pakistan? Because a lot of us young engineers and doctors who came abroad felt that we wanted to prove ourselves on the global stage, we wanted to excel in our specific disciplines, and our dream for our next generation is to take those opportunities back home, so a Pakistani can excel in any discipline they want to without having to leave Pakistan, for instance.
Yes, no, this is actually a very important and key priority for us. And there are several ways in which we are trying to do this. And I would say that the key focus or the key starting point of this effort really is to work and collaborate with Pakistani diaspora and individuals like yourself, individuals like those who have joined in here in this conversation, or those who were part of the conversations that we have had with Open, or the conversations that we had during our tech summits organized by New York Consulate, by the Los Angeles Consulate, by Houston Consulate, and by the embassy also. Because I think we need to set the ball rolling. And we need to have champions, because frankly, over the years, what I have noticed, and since I've been coming in and out of United States, there is really a huge information lag on Pakistan. And somehow, unfortunately, the narratives are stuck in the past and they are frozen. How Pakistan has changed, what potential do we have, is something that, and even the next generation of Pakistani Americans, who have not had opportunity to visit Pakistan because of the security fears, has further aggravated that deficit, and not just that, back in the 90s or even in the 80s or even before that in the 70s. I mean, I have served a lot of time in Japan also. And we had in Japan and in United States pretty effective Pakistan studies programs, where the Japanese and the Americans interested in learning about Pakistan would go to Pakistan, to some of our top universities, and come back as experts and be seen as authentic voices on Pakistan. Now, for the past 20 years, there hasn't been much because universities would not want to take risk because the insurance rates were too high. So we had this so-called, even the diplomats would only go for a year and come back and come out, So that resulted in, frankly, second-hand and third-hand expertise, basically from Kabul, people who have served in Afghanistan, or people who have served in New Delhi, people who have done a stint in Bangladesh, they became experts on Pakistan, which is not really. So that's where I think, and we need to have a very whole, and that's why, for the embassy, for me personally, I did that in Japan, I did that here. I must say this has been my contribution to focus exclusively on revising travel advisories, in giving out numbers which clearly indicate that today Pakistan's security environment is better than most cities and countries in the region. And this is not what the ambassador of Pakistan is claiming. I mean, these are numbers that are available. And while we have moved up, 15, 20 notches on various indicators and counts, but the travel advisories have not revised. So that, frankly, deficit can be addressed by making even a more aggressive information giving effort. And frankly, in this, I see COVID as an opportunity, because what COVID has done is that it has taken away that mental reserve that we had about distant learning, about distant networking, about distant interactions. Now today, I mean, this was unthinkable 2 years ago, frankly. So this is an opportunity that we must tap in more effectively. So, and for that, the other point that I made in the beginning, the problem was that, we would come, we will sit, we will talk with no follow-up. So just to give you one example, that in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we have actually created this initiative on science diplomacy, which is the Diaspora Research and Innovation Network with Doreen. And Doreen invites everyone who is willing and in a position to contribute. And these details are available on the embassy site. These details are available on the foreign ministry site. All those who are willing and interested in making any contribution whatsoever can basically go and register themselves. When we did this startup summit, we had 120 attendees, all registered. we have them as the so-called database in our system. And we will definitely be staying in touch because we need mentors. We need, like when we did our first tech summit on the West Coast with our consul general and consulate in Los Angeles, working with Naveed Sherwani and Najib Ghori and others, we brought 14 startups from Pakistan and brought them under the same roof with potential venture capitalists. Now that's what we want to do. And I have already announced that we will do another startup showcasing here in collaboration with all the key players in Pakistan. And we would invite all those who might actually be interested in working or in investing in those startups. So it's about setting the ball rolling, creating the champions, presenting the right role models, then registering in Pakistan to help build our capacity to inspire the next generation of Pakistani. We are producing around 25,000 tech graduates every. Their quality may not be that good, but with your support and those of others, we can really improve their standard and quality.
That's very inspiring and heartening to hear, sir. And on behalf of the Park Launch community, I can assure you that in terms of your desire to sort of capitalize on our network or our community for helping build the Invest in Pakistan brand, or for any event management and organization related support that you need, there'll be there'll be hundreds of willing volunteers across the globe, mostly in the US, because that's where our franchise, our community is the strongest. But we are all very eager and willing to use our free time to help build the Pakistan brand abroad, not just for our own sakes, but as you said, the second generation Pakistani immigrants here, they also have to believe and have faith in the Pakistani brand to carry on contributing back to where their parents or their forefathers came from. So the chat window is buzzing with questions, and I'm really.
But Ali, if I may, with your permission, just because I think that it's very important, because sometimes we look at promoting investments, promoting economic coordination as a kind of a one window or one or unidimensional activity. It is not. It is really not. Now, just to give you one more example of how, apart from working on and insisting on the revision of travel advisories, the other thing that we have done is to completely liberalize the visa regime. Today, you or those Pakistani Americans who want to get family visa don't really need to go anywhere, to any embassy. They can actually get those visas from the comfort of their homes. We are making it 66 countries, nationals can actually get business visa on arrival. This is not, and in Pakistan also, ease of doing business. I mean, you can have the best set of investment incentives that a mind can think of. And yet you have a very antiquated bureaucratic machine which refuses to allow anything to move because of red tapeism. I think that we have introduced close to around 300 reforms. I know it is still not from 138, we have moved to 108. We still have a long way to go. But I think it only tells you of the commitment that the government has. And then the other important point that I just want to, and that's where, individuals who are right, because you are sitting outside. If you don't go to Pakistan, there is no way that you can inspire your friends to go to Pakistan. And that's where we have again used COVID as an opportunity to bring Pakistan to the comforts of the living rooms of individuals here. And the other day, we did a Splendors of Pakistan virtual tour. Then in the second phase, we did a Sikh heritage tour where we had well-known Sikh historians make comprehensive presentations. And frankly, that was also educative for me personally. And then only a few days back, we did the Lahore virtual tour. So the idea really is to bring this next generation, provoke their interest in Pakistan, have them over to Pakistan, then they get excited because, as I always say, that Thailand was a tourist destination first before it became an investment destination. Similarly, Vietnam was a tourist destination first before it became an investment destination. So that's what we really need to work on.
Very well said, sir. Moving to the chat window, which is buzzing with a lot of pertinent and interesting questions. Let me start and pick the thread with Max Ward's question. For international/US companies with investment and business activity in Pakistan, is there a Pakistan-US Chamber of Commerce that we can connect into?
Not one, several actually. We have the US-Pakistan Business Council, which more or less represents all the existing key US investors in Pakistan. Then we have the American Business Council, ABC, in Pakistan, which has a membership of about 68 companies operating in Pakistan. And then we have the American Business Forum also operating out of Pakistan, which has a membership of around 22 US companies, mostly operating in the upper, North Pakistan. And then apart from that, we have, various Pakistani American chambers of commerce operating out of various jurisdictions. So there are a number of representative bodies that anyone can join. And then there are these other groups like the McClarty Associates, the Bauer Group, and Meridian International. They also then focus on individual countries for their clients.
Great, thanks. Just sort of picking on this one further. So it seems Mr. Ward already has a presence in Pakistan by virtue of his company. So it seems like there is a need for us to maybe communicate some of these things a bit more in a more accessible and, let's say, easy to use manner. So in that context, is there potential for, say, some members from the Park Launch community collaborating with your team to prepare some kind of FAQ brochures or materials that could help people looking to invest in Pakistan do that even more easily? I'm sure there's plenty of collateral out there already. It's just about disseminating it and making sure it gets to the right people in the right manner, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, my entire team, I'm glad that all our council journals are listening. The economic minister, the trade team, and my colleagues who deal with economic matters in the embassy are also available. And I agree with you. We have to do a better job of sharing these details. So we will be happy to collaborate.
Great. So on behalf of the Park Launch community, I volunteer to help facilitate this this collaboration on the sidelines. There's another sort of I would say somewhat similar question around. So Rafi Sheikh in a way is mentioning that we've all heard that data is the new oil, and to bring any revolutionary new technological services for the masses in Pakistan, you need access to some level of data. So I understand that with Nadra, there's a decent database of uh, content on the Pakistani population already sort of developing. So if some artificial intelligence or analytical company is looking to develop products in the finance or health, life sciences sectors for the Pakistani market, how can they go about it? Like, who should they reach out to in the government um, to try and get some kind of a data exchange collaboration going?
First of all, as you know, Ali, data is a sensitive issue,
Yeah.
and when it comes to Nadra, they hold this in their custody, and they are pretty sensitive and protective about it, So,
Yeah.
but data in terms of, as an issue in the information technology framework is handled by the IT and Telecom Ministry. So if there is any particular inquiry, or if there is any particular interest, please advise your colleagues to get in touch with our team, with our trade minister, with our economic minister, and others, and we will be happy to pass it on to Islamabad and work with you to get the answers one way or the other. I'm not promising that we will get an answer in affirmative, but I can certainly promise that you will definitely hear back from us. We will push it in Islamabad also, and if there is a specific, suggestion that the system over there finds attractive, we will be happy to create that network. And you actually also spoke about, I'm sorry, I think I didn't answer that part of the question, that what are we doing in attracting some of these big companies? We've been in conversation. One of the things that we have, frankly, um, uh, almost been a consistent talking point in our conversations with big companies like Google, Facebook, and others, has been encouraging them to set up their offices in Pakistan. And that's where some of these data related issues that they face become even more relevant, and so we are looking at it from that perspective also. I personally have been in touch with Amazon. Amazon is a huge global player, and I can happily report that we have had some very useful, very interesting conversations. We still have not reached any conclusions on how it is going to happen, but I can tell you, at least on the seller registration side, we have made tremendous progress, and we will hopefully be announcing something also soon. But then that is just one part of it, because, for instance, Amazon has extensive back office support, customer services requirements. Amazon has Amazon Web Service also. Then they have their own 29 brands for which they procure from around the world. So we have been also in touch with Costco and others to start. We are already in a conversation with them, and we are encouraging them, urging them to set up their representation and offices, because once they have presence there, it really helps to dispel a number of wrongly formed notions that they might have.
Thanks for the insights, sir. I'll try and club a couple of questions as there's plenty of unanswered ones. So there's questions around enhancing software exports from Pakistan and making it easier for the world to discover our technology freelancing talent, as well as you might have heard of how it's challenging for freelancers to get remunerated for their services in the Pakistan because of certain limitations on players like PayPal not being present in Pakistan, and how money flows into the country from abroad. So any sort of support or any initiatives in that space which can help this particular segment of software exporters and technology freelancers see light at the end of the tunnel?
As I said, that we are actively, because this is a challenge, and as I've been saying from very start, that the absence of financial platforms is a challenge, which is impeding the effective tapping of the freelancing resource that we have. The State Bank and the government is very keenly working on that, and some platforms have been created and others are already in the works. So hopefully, you will hear more in the days to come. But if Hasan or Shoaib, you want to add to this, you are welcome to add anything.
So, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you very much. Sir, as you have said that these financial platforms, obviously they are very important, and a lot of work has been done. We just, as Sir mentioned, that we just have the virtual startup summit, and one of the main concern or one of the main suggestion that has been raised is the absence of such financial platforms. And we had these the representatives from the SDP and the SCCP who told us at that virtual platform that the work is being done in order to create some platform that would help in this to have the payments, the ease of payments for the financial for the services that are being provided by Pakistani startups, or services that are being provided by people in Pakistan into the US. So the work is being done, and hopefully we'll hear some good news soon.
But if I may, Ali, just to add to what Hasan said, and again, that's frankly, even in this startup summit, not all the questions that were raised were actually answered. And also, not enough questions were raised. I interacted with Open International some time ago, and I've been actually wanting to hear questions, concrete questions, problems, specific problems, case-specific challenges, because unfortunately, we have broad questions to which we give broad answers, and the conversation doesn't really go anywhere. So through you, I would like to basically, and we do save the chat. We saved the chat for these previous interactions that we have had with all these tech-related players in the United States. I would urge you and all your colleagues to give us, tell us that company X on such and such date face such and such problem, and this, in our view, is the solution. What is government of Pakistan doing about it? And I promise, I am not a technician, but I do know how to move the system around, and I do know how to get things done. And I promise that we will take those back, and I really would want to use your network and your channel to hear the feedback. Because, as I said, that improving things is not, cannot be undertaken in silos. It has to be a holistic approach. And for that, we really need to hear the feedback. And I am doing these Khuli Kacharis also, just to get the feedback from people. And you can be critical, you can be caustic, you can be aggressive, as long as you are polite. I am available, and my colleagues are available to answer any questions.
So can I add on that?
Yeah, Ji, sure, please.
So sorry, I had a surgery on Wednesday, so I can't really speak. The nose surgery is still with stitches. So I'll be, sir, in touch with them on this to, work further and take the conversation forward and correct them with the
Okay,
relevant statement.
good, good.
That's
Thank you.
very helpful and kind of you to repose that trust and confidence in the community. And as you said, I think we at times tend to get stuck in sort of hyperbole and generics in terms of there are issues, but a lot of times the issue is not as complex as it's portrayed to be. It's only a case of connecting the right stakeholders, the one with the problem and the solution together. So happy to help Shoaib Saab and your team with any such test cases or scenarios that can help uh, us be more action oriented.
In fact, I must tell you that we are also joined by a representative of the Science Diplomacy Division of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs from Islamabad. So they are also listening into this conversation, and then this is going to feed into the process that they are having in Islamabad. So it's not just a conversation between you and the embassies and our consulates, but the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is also looped into this.
Great. So on the trade front, there's comments around shipping and customs to and from Pakistan being a bit challenging. Any insights on that front in terms of reforms or simplification that you'd like to highlight?
I would like to understand better the question in terms of, yes, there are the trade facilitation part and the custom clearance procedures, and we do often hear a lot of criticism on those procedures being cumbersome. Azmat, are you there? Maybe I think he is not around. But if there is a specific question, Ali, share with us. I know this is a problem. We have, as I said, that overall Prime Minister is very keen to improve the ease of doing business, making the movement of goods to and from our borders is a key part of what we are supposed to do. And there is still a lot of room for improvement there. But if there is any specific area that the questionnaire needs to know, please share those details, and I'll be happy to answer back, maybe in writing.
Thanks for that. The question here is more around having clarity on the tariffs and duties that are applicable on different categories of import-export items. I believe that must exist already. It's most likely a case of communicating it via a digital platform or a website in an easy to digest and access manner. Muhammad Wasim was the one who asked the question initially. If you're listening, please elaborate on any specific aspects of that, and we can maybe come back to this question later. I'm just scanning through the other questions. There's one question around, so our platform, we've had some social enterprises present their business plans and their ideas in the Pakistani context as well. Fayaz Shah is asking if there's any way to, is there any sort of structured support around setting up an NGO in Pakistan from abroad? So, while we're talking about commercial and investment oriented endeavors, I'm sure the missions abroad are able to and keen to help with non-governmental organizations with a development and charitable agenda as well. So if you could shed some light on that, please.
Oh yes. I mean, this has been a focus of our attention, and also some contention, with the developed countries, including from Europe and United States, in terms of there being some criticism on these international NGO processes being little too cumbersome. But then again, the question really is of any country's need to maintain transparency and the obligations that they have in terms of tracking the inflow of money and the intent and purpose of the use of that money, you know. So we have actually come a long way in streamlining that process. So clearly, the areas where foreign non-governmental organizations can engage in development activities in Pakistan are clearly laid out. The Economic Affairs Division is the lead. If the questionnaire needs to know more about the individuals to be approached for initiating the process, you know, and the application can be filed in, you know, it can also, I think the Securities and Exchange Commission of Pakistan is also involved. So there is a process in place. There are clearly laid out guidelines also in place. There is certain due diligence steps that those NGOs need to take. If their application or petition is rejected for any reason, they will hear the reasons also, and then they will also have the right to appeal and challenge the determination being made by the concerned governmental authorities.
Ali, if you don't mind, can I just elaborate on that question a little bit?
Please, please go ahead.
Thank you very much for that answer. We are currently going through that process. We are setting up an NGO that will help underprivileged youth learn emerging career skills so that they can participate in the in the economic opportunity associated with it. Just as a feedback from going through that process, that it requires quite a bit of digging through different pieces to figure out what the steps are, and then it's not very clear to understand the timing of those steps. So there is quite a bit of ambiguity, you know, whether the process will take 3 months or 2 years, you know, if that is streamlined, and I understand the complexity involved in terms of money laundering, but if there are ways to streamline and provide some guidance so that people who are embarking on this journey, they have some idea about timelines so that they can better plan their initiative, that will be helpful.
No, I agree with you, and my sense is that things are laid out in quite detail, because this has been a subject of very intense conversations at various levels over the past at least 5 years, actually. And then there were these very big international NGOs, you know, who were stopped from working, and then they had to go through those steps and procedures also. So there is an accumulated, laid out, how should I say, practice on how NGOs, international NGOs can register, in what areas can they register. If there is any confusion, please reach out to Hasan Rabbani, who is on this call. You can share your email with us. Share with us where the application process is. Tell us specifically where the problem is, because you are right. You know, the timing is not laid out, but the point is that it is not an open-ended exercise either. So when you don't complete certain procedures, it gets delayed. So doing it the right way, hopefully should actually get you the necessary approvals. And I know of many who do get those approvals on a regular basis. And so lately we are not hearing as many complaints as we used to in the past. So if there is any specific area where you are stuck, please let us know and we'll be happy to help you.
Well, it's been such an insightful and inspiring interaction that I didn't realize it's already an hour. And once again, grateful for your candid and such warm interaction with the community. We started off as an informal group of friends wanting to contribute back to Pakistan, and have now grown to a 2000 plus member community during the short span of a year. And I must say that encouraging comments and a listening ear from influential stakeholders like you give us that energy to carry on with the agenda that we picked up with the parklaunch.com. And on behalf of the core team, I can assure you that we are there for you and your team. So please use us as an extended community of volunteers willing to help you and your team with the agenda that you have in terms of bringing growth and prosperity back to the motherland. And we are, I would say, even more enthused and charged up after this interaction with you today. Thank you so much for your time. Grateful to you and your team who have spared time for us today. And in terms of concrete actions and next steps, we'll be in touch with Shoaib Server and Hasan Rabbani to make sure that we are able to put actions behind the words I have expressed in terms of our desire to support you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Hasan. Ali, it's been a pleasure. I see that the average age of your membership should warrant designation as a youthful organization. You are not just young in terms of the years that you've been together as an organization, but you are also young in terms of the average age of you. And that's the cohort, as I said in the beginning, that I am personally most enthusiastic to engage with. So I look forward to staying in touch. My team, our consul generals, our colleagues here at the embassy are just a call away. Trust me, we want to work with you and we want to make it happen. And don't assume if anything gets stuck that we don't want to do it. Because for us, it's not about being a bureaucrat. It's a public service, and we do it for our country. And I know you do it for our country also. So let's join hands.
Thank you very much, and have a great rest of your Sunday.
Thank you so much. All the best to your members also.
And hopefully happy Ramadan soon as well. I guess we're just around the corner with Ramzan as well. So all the best, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.